I know people are tired of it wasn't pretty, but it was us. It's been a Ravens staple. Like it's a Ravens hashtag. It's been like the Ravens motto for probably since John Harbaugh has been here. And yes, there are improvements that can be made, but I think everybody can agree an ugly win is much better than a pretty loss. All right, what is going on, good people? Your Ravens rewind right here on Flock Nation Speaks, Week 7 versus the Browns, or the Browns, as I heard so many times in the broadcast. Shout out to those iconic voices. Was that Gumble on this week? I don't know, but anyway, what is going on, good people? DJ right here, Flock Nation Speaks, Ravens rewind versus the Browns. The Ravens ended up getting the 23-20 win. And it makes me think, first things first, let's start here. If the Ravens don't fumble, right? If they get a good drive, because that last drive that they had against the Browns was a good drive. It just didn't end up in points, which is an issue within itself. But if the Ravens end up scoring on that drive, Justice Hill doesn't fumble, Lamar does a bootleg and throws it in or runs it in, or Gus gets his third touchdown of the day, do we think about this game a little bit differently? Because a lot of people, because it was, the offense put up 20, 23 points, whatever, are feeling kind of down on the offense. And there's room for concern. Seems like I feel like there should be like a room for concern counter in a lot of Ravens videos, for the people who talk about the Ravens, because I feel like that's been, one of those things that's been said plenty of times. There's cause for concern here, right? Should we be concerned, right? Like I think what I saw from the Ravens this week, it was ugly, right? Like, and the thing is always it was ugly, but it was us, right? That's been John Harbaugh's big thing. Like, yes, it was an ugly game. Yes, we can play better. Yes, there's still a lot of potential here, but at the same time, it was ugly, but it was us. That we've seen it plenty of times, like in the locker room after the game. And I'm sure he said it this time too. I haven't listened to like the locker room talk or anything like that, but it's interesting because the Ravens are at a crossroads right now. And we kind of saw it last year when they were forced to pass the football because there was just no running game to speak of. Le'Veon Bell and Latavius Murray. I'm forgetting the other back that they brought in last year. They had to bring in off the street because of all the injuries and everything. The running game just wasn't working. And this year, the running game is working kind of, right? Like Gus looked good, but at the same time, it's not consistent. Right? It's not something that's consistent because you're still waiting to get your healthy running backs back, right? You're waiting to get Gus, you're waiting to get JK back. JK's out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Gus seems like he's here to stay, and he looked good. He looked like Gus. Like, I was so glad to see Gus back. One of the most underrated running backs in the league. The dude rarely ever gets stopped behind the line of scrimmage. And if he does, he usually pushes forward and gets more yards. Gus is just a beast. I feel like we've seen this since his rookie year. I don't understand the organization's lack of trust in Gus, but at the same time, I think we all saw Gus is that dude, and it's gonna be that dude. I like Gus so much, and I like JK too. They have a good 1-2 punch, but I think Gus has been often disrespected, unfortunately. And I feel like he had a good game. I feel like he did. What did he end up with? 66 yards rushing, 4.1 yards per carry, which is pretty good. Of course, the 2 touchdowns. He got more carries, I think, than anybody expected him to get in his first game back. And it's interesting because the game plan felt a little conservative. It felt a little bit like, what are we going to get out of the Ravens this week? Because I think I came into it feeling like they were going to be throw it around the yard, like explore a little bit. Gus is just getting back. JK's hurt. Like, they're gonna open it up a little bit. And I mean, we saw some creativity offensively. Let's just start with the offense. I think we saw some creativity. That toss play to Lamar was awesome. And I know a lot of people hate it because they're like, we don't want to see our quarterback running the ball like that. And I mean, and the only issue I guess is the Lamar B narrative, or he's a running back narrative, I guess, is what people want to try to steer away from. But nobody's mad. And now, albeit, it was a good play for first down, but nobody's mad at Nick Foles for going out and catching a pass in the Super Bowl, or the Philly special. Nobody gets mad about that, right? It's just one of those things where you needed a play. You figured out what would be a creative play that we can go to that is going to work. Lamar's such a good runner with the football. He's got such good vision, right? It literally feels like he can break any play. And I don't think there's anything wrong with using him in that capacity every once in a while. Now, albeit, do I want to see it every week? Do I want to see it every other week? Do I want to see it every 4 weeks? Probably not. Right? Probably not. But like every once in a blue moon, when you really need a play, like you really need something that's going to keep people guessing. And it was cool because Andrews kind of acted like he was just going to, take the penalty or whatever it was, and they were going to kick the field goal. I can't remember if they were in field goal range or not, but I mean that was just I thought it was a really creative and cool play that I wasn't expecting. It had me like, oh, okay, that's a good play, right? Like it really had me feeling like, okay, that's a really good play right there. Lamar Jackson finishes with 120 yards this week, a little over 50% at the 9 for 16. Only throwing the ball 16 times. I heard a lot of people say. I've heard a couple ends of the spectrum. One was, oh, Lamar's just not. He's just not playing well. It's a bad stretch of games. Also, and it was a good reminder. I heard some people say, I think Lamar's injured, right? I think Lamar's injured. I think that not only the elbow from earlier in the season, but the hip injury that he was dealing with, whatever it is, whether it's hip soreness or he got hit, taking a sack or something like that, like whatever that is, I think it's all something you should think. You can think about as the team starts to get healthy. I don't because I mean honestly, I think the Ravens will come out and play well against the Buccaneers, right? I think they're going to come out and play well on primetime against the Buccaneers. That's going to take them. I want to say the bye is right after that. That's going to take them into the bye, and I don't think they're going to be healthy um, until after the bye, whether it's this week or 2 weeks. I'm trying to remember right off the top of my head, but I. I don't think the Ravens will be truly healthy until the bye. And I mean, is anybody truly healthy in the NFL? Not necessarily, but I honestly don't. Yeah, because the Ravens got the Buccaneers and the Saints, and then their bye. And I don't think the Ravens will be healthy until the bye, until after the bye, because it's going to really give them probably the rest and relaxation that they need. Because by that time, right, this is 1 week without Gus, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks for the bye. He could be back by the Panthers game, but probably not. They'll probably rest him for the Panthers and the Jags game and have him back for the Broncos game / Steelers game, right? Like they'll probably like really let him rest a little bit, even more so than they did before, and have him come back as healthy as they can for down the stretch. This is a big this is a big scenario of games. I talked about it before. You got your division games coming. A lot of people will talk about the records and whatnot, but you got some big division games coming up, and you got some tough games too. The Buccaneers can always pose a threat, and I think the Saints can always pose a threat. And the way the Panthers looked last week, you never know what Panthers team you're going to get. So I mean, there's nothing to overlook in this schedule. And of course, you got division games too. You got the Steelers twice. You got the Browns again. You got the Bengals again. The Falcons are sprinkled in there, not in the division, but still sprinkled in there. So I think Ravens fans should temper their expectations until the bye. Once the bye happens, if the bye happens and we either don't see any sort of big move or big change or change in philosophy in some sort of way, then there should be a little bit of a cause for concern when it comes to the offensive end. But honestly, I think just getting healthy is going to be not necessarily, I don't want to say enough, just getting healthy is going to be big. We'll see if it's enough, but just getting healthy is going to be a big deal because the Ravens will die on the running the football heel even when it's not working. And although in this game it felt like it worked a little bit and they try to stick with it as much as they can, coming into a short week too, I heard things about maybe the Ravens are trying to be a little conservative, purposely calling this game conservative for the simple fact of it's conservative till we need to be aggressive, and then when we need to be aggressive to win the game, we are, and we don't blow ourselves out before we get to a Thursday night game, which is where the big debacle in Miami happened, right? Where you had a short week and you just weren't ready for it. So I think that'll be good. I think injuries probably played a factor in the way the offense played too, because Andrews just couldn't do anything in this game, which is shocking. He didn't have a catch. Like that's about as surprising as it can get for a guy who is one of the top tight ends in the league. Wherever you may rank him, he is one of the top tight ends in the league, top 5 at worst, right? So, I mean, I think offensively, I think it was okay. Like I still would love to see a little bit more of spreading the ball around a little bit more. I want to see Ricard get out of the game a little bit more because a lot of people were keying in on to like, hey, Ricard, wherever he goes, that's where the ball's going because he's the biggest lead blocker you can ever see. Like, I mean, this dude's a 300-pound fullback. I'd run behind him too, right? Like, and you're gonna get positive yards off of it more than likely because who's gonna run over him like that? But defensive tackle playing fullback, so and sometimes in the slot. But I feel like defensively it was okay. I feel like defensively it was okay. I think they played well enough to win. I don't think they. I think honestly, probably outside of what 2 or 3 possessions, they did pretty well. Now, I mean, I think they gave up some score. Like, I mean, the Ravens got down 10-0 pretty early in this game, and it was it 10. I think it was 10-0, or it's 10. It was at least 10-3, right? They got down pretty early. They came out kind of sluggish. It felt like they came out kind of like in this weird, like sluggish mood. It felt like, but I think at the same time, I think the defense, that first possession where the Browns just went down the field just like it was nothing. I I think that's important. I think they responded to that pretty well. Nick Chubb didn't really do much of anything in this game. He had one big gain, I think it was, and they had the screenplay that was pretty good. They were beating them down the field every once in a while. You have the pass interference on Amari Cooper, but they went back to that play too. I think Brissett had a pretty good game considering, right? Like, I mean, Brissett's been kind of up and down. He had a pretty good game. So I think the defense played well. I'm honestly, and that's the thing. I don't think the defense is great by any means, but I think the defense shows flashes of being that if they can keep up their consistency. Half the issue with the defense is the pass rush. I don't think it's the talent on the back end. I think it's the pass rush not getting there to let the talent on the back end really feast like they want to. And I think that's something that should probably be addressed at the trade deadline too. What can you do at pass rusher? Because Jason Pierre-Paul is close, Justin Houston is close, but can you get that mean mug pass rusher, or do you wait on Tyus Bowser and David Ojabo and hope that there'll be guys who can make some really big plays for you when they get in the game? Because I mean, they are at practice, they are practicing, so they should be back very, very soon. Probably not this week, but they should be back. Right, you're getting some key pieces, especially on the defensive end back. Marcus Williams shouldn't be out for too much longer either. So that'll be big when it comes down to it. You kind of got to, when you have injuries, you kind of got to go with that bend but don't break philosophy. But there's a lack of a pass rush, and then you're missing your back end ball hawk and Marcus Williams. So that's a big deal. But I think overall, it was an ugly game. It was. It was an ugly game. I think the offense has to be better, but I think at the same time, like, the offense has to showcase enough of a threat that they can't stack the box on you anyway. And some of that's going to be simplifying the routes, like stop trying to go downfield as much, and let Bateman catch it on the slant and use his yards after catch ability. Let Duvernay do the same thing. Get the ball to Duvernay and let him do what Duvernay does. Right, Duvernay makes plays with the football in his hand. That's just what he does. So let him do that, and then like I was saying before with Deshaun Jackson, put Deshaun Jackson out there and let him pose a threat to the defense. Deshaun Jackson is Deshaun Jackson until proven otherwise. So he's going to be a perceived threat until he's just simply not a threat anymore. And that might not even be a real thing. He's probably going to be a threat regardless because he's going to be a speed threat. So that's another thing too. Like, and maybe even kind of spell him out because he is 35. Spell him out with Andy Isabella. Let Andy Isabella kind of create some speed options for you too, and let Duvernay and Bateman kind of work underneath. So you got a little bit of everything. So you got levels to this thing. So I think that's going to be the big thing coming about. I hope they activate Deshaun Jackson. It's weird to see like the 49ers activate Christian McCaffrey after 2 or 3 days. And Deshaun Jackson was in the building on Monday, signed on Tuesday, and not used on Sunday. Right? I think McCaffrey made the trip to San Francisco on Thursday, and he was starting, not even playing, just starting on Sunday. So, I mean, that kind of just shows you the changes in philosophy, even just for the coaching staff and coordinators. But whatever. I think the Thursday night game is going to be interesting. But the Thursday night game also, regardless of how bad the Bucs have looked, the Thursday night game, it's still the Bucs. It's still Tom Brady. As long as they make the playoffs, they still got a chance to do whatever they want to because they are who they are. So it could still be a big win for the Ravens going into this game, right? Going into this game and doing exactly what they got to do to be great in this game. I think the one thing that I was hoping to see from this game, and we did see, was a clean game from Lamar. Lamar made some plays. I think it's overlooked sometimes because we are so stats happy, we're so yards happy, we are so touchdowns happy, and rightfully so to a certain degree because I think the majority of the Ravens fans want to see Lamar get paid by the Ravens specifically. And it's interesting that that sometimes I think we forget, like, yes, he only threw for 120 yards, but remember the big rush he had when literally nobody was open on third down. The fourth down play, and albeit it kind of being a little bit of trickery, right? Like, that was a big play by Lamar using his vision to get upfield and get that first down. That's a big deal. He made some big throws in this game too. Like, he just didn't get a lot of chances, and it's sometimes it's easier to go 2 of 3 than it is to go 1 of 2, right? More opportunities just gives you more chances to succeed, and I want to see Lamar get that. Now, albeit with the hip injury, was that affecting him enough to where they wanted to not give him a game off, but like rest him a little bit in this game? Maybe, right? Maybe. But we'll see, how that develops. But the Ravens did end up getting the win. I think Jacoby looked pretty good on the Brown side. It'd be interesting to see what they do if they can keep themselves afloat as they prepare to get Deshaun Watson back. Because luckily the Ravens don't play Deshaun Watson this season. It's like right on, it's the week before he comes back. But also, for the Ravens I want to see consistency, right? Like, the good part about about this game is they played a clean game. There wasn't a ton of penalties. Like, it wasn't like a ton of penalties to where it just messed up everything. But at the same time, they played relatively clean. One turnover with the fumble, which would have been a really good clean game, and they probably would have scored on that drive. I know they've had their red zone issues, but they probably would have scored on that drive too if there wouldn't have been a fumble. But I want to see what the Ravens do on Thursday. Preview coming soon. Be sure you check Flock Nation Speaks Out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify. All the good ones. All the good ones. Google Podcast too, I think. Something like that. But make sure to check Flock Nation Speaks Out on that. I got a preview coming out very, very soon for the Buccaneers and the Ravens game. What do the Ravens got to do to beat the Buccaneers? It's still a tough game. It's still Tom Brady. It's still the Bucs. We'll see. But definitely hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't already, if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on Facebook, be sure to hit the like button. And if you're watching anywhere else, including those two. Be sure to share the episode if you enjoyed it, or share the episode and give your opinion on the episode, what was being said, your opinion on the game. But anyway, we'll see you guys on the next one. Until